Good evening. Tonight's story isn't loud, it's just uncomfortably creepy. Why I no longer go camping, and why I really love my dog. To understand my story, you sort of have to know a tiny bit about trespassing laws in my country, and that we don't have any so long as you're respectful and non-destructive. You can walk over any hill you like, and in my case, camp on any beach of your choosing, so long as once you leave, the area is how you found it. I used to love camping when I was little. Our family would go multiple times a year, with a large group of my parents' friends and their kids. On average, there was maybe 10 of us at a time, which was a bit of a logistical challenge since we would always head out to this one really remote beach on the coast. Actually, we weren't the only ones. There's always yachts bobbing just off the shore with people in them, and other campers lined up and down the beach. Most of them also had children and teens, so it wasn't a wild party scene. It was very much an informal family holiday spot. There was even a small building with a toilet and shower installed nearby, even though it was in the middle of nowhere. I guess the local council must have figured it out and got sick of people peeing behind bushes. We took a trip up in spring 2011. I'm really bad with time, but I know this because I got my dog in winter of 2010. After picking her out that November from the shelter as a birthday gift from me to me, as I paid her adoption fee. Reddit, I know you love dogs, and she will be very important to this story later on. So let me tell you a little about Parmesan. Parmesan came to me as a 6-month-old puppy who had been rescued from a dogfighting situation. We're not entirely sure what breed she is, but our best guess is a Lurcher Staffy mix. She is a wonderful, well-tempered dog with most people and most dogs, but you absolutely do not threaten her. She'll have you. So by the time of this camping trip, I'd had Parmesan for a few months. She'd never came camping with us before, but far as my family is concerned, dogs go on camping trips. So when we all piled into the car, she came too. Unusually though, none of the family friends could make it, so it was only me, my sister, my dad, and my mom. I didn't mind. I wasn't that attached to the other kids. I'd rather play with my dog, and I'd still have my sister. The drive took the best part of 6 hours, and because we'd left a bit late, although I don't remember why we left later than normal, we arrived at sunset. Not a good time to be building a tent, but we expected to arrive to other campers already set up and the beach illuminated in campfires. The beach was empty. In spite of this, my parents started taking stuff out and trying to build the tent. They asked us to fetch some of the lighter bags from the boot of the car. While they sat pointing a flashlight at the sand to see properly, I rolled down the windows for Parmesan. Before getting out, it was pretty hot for the time of the year, and I wanted her to have air. Always gotta look out for my furry little homie. As we fumbled about in the dark on the beach in the middle of nowheres, where it's pretty spooky, the one road that led to the beach was circular and had a big bridge over the water, meaning it could basically circle around the beach like a big O shape. I wasn't really paying any attention to the road. I was complaining I was tired, as kids are. After maybe 15 minutes of my dad trying to nail the tent into the sand, my mom asked him had he seen that car driving around. It's been a few times. My dad kinda shrugged her off. He's sort of like that. I don't know if he said anything back to her, but after a few more minutes, a car pulled up next to ours on the road and someone got out. It was maybe 15 or 20 feet from the car to where we were, and the lights were pretty low except for the torches. We weren't expecting to see anyone else out here at this point, and I think my mom said it must be the security. I think what she meant was the wildlife trust or something, as they do occasionally come down to be nosy. The guy was walking pretty unevenly. He must have been drunk or high, because he had that stagger to him. There was absolutely no way this guy was sober. Cool, a junkie. Not an unusual find, but it is rare to see them in the wild. As he walked into flashlight range, we realized he was carrying a large knife, maybe 15 inches. Although I was small at the time, so maybe my sense of scale was off. I don't like my dad, but credit to him. Once he saw this, he got up immediately, holding on to the camping mallet, and put us all behind him. The man began to shout wildly at us that we can't camp here, and he was just letting us know. My dad tried to initially be a bit low-key with the guy and told him that was fine, we'd leave, but it didn't seem to work. He kept coming closer to us, so my dad started shouting, and the man kept shouting back. My sister and I were crying. I remember shaking. I was utterly terrified, as I'm sure anyone would be in that situation. It really did seem like this guy and my dad were gonna fight, and I'm going to be honest, I don't fancy my dad's chances. While it's grim to consider, I'm absolutely convinced he would have killed my dad, and possibly us as well once he was done, as I don't think my mother would have had the common sense to run with us. I love her, but she always put Dad and hers relationship above us. This isn't how it went down. A bolt from the black, like a wolf, descended on its prey, took us all by surprise, most of all the man with the knife. In the moment, Parmesan was the apex predator. She got him good by the arm and clamped down hard, ripping his jacket and shredding the skin underneath. He dropped the knife as it had been in the arm she had gotten him by. He kicked her, he punched her, and eventually got her off. He grabbed the knife from the sand and ran back to his car and drove off. Parmesan didn't follow him. She stayed with us, muzzle covered in blood. Quickly as we could, we gathered our things and all got back in the car, all pretty shook up by this incident. I looked Parmesan over. She was okay, but the car window was much more open than I had let it. We think what had happened was when the shouting started, she must have put her paw up on the window gap I'd left for her, as it was an old car that had the roll-down windows, not the electric button. We think she must have been able to hit it with her paw to force it down enough to squeeze out. This is not the end of my story. We were all pretty scared, and since we had the dog with us, we couldn't book a hotel room for the night. My parents decided just to drive home, so we could all feel safe. But first, we had to drive into the nearest town for some petrol, as they were kind of low. I spent this time trying to clean Parmesan up a little. I'd always loved dogs, but what she'd just done for me blew my mind. As we drove into town, we came across a petrol station, but it looked closed. My dad drove up closer to get a better look and stuck his head out the window to get a better look at the sign. My mom asked him what on earth he was doing, and he told her he was trying to see when it opened. Never. My heart sank. Parked in the corner beside a van so we hadn't seen him at first was the man with the knife. He was sitting on the bonnet of his car, using some tissue paper to clean up his arm. It looked pretty bad. Without stopping to refuel or look anywhere else, my dad drove right out of there. He decided to go to the next town over, but this was a move. The next town over was 60 miles away. We didn't have much petrol. We realized as we began to drive, we were going to break down. That's fine, he said. We have AA covered. They come tow us home or at least somewhere acceptable for the night. Better than staying in that last town. After driving for maybe 5 minutes, lights flashed us from behind. Another car. The same car, the man that had been driving. It was him, following us. He must have realized we were low on petrol. The next half hour was one of the worst half hours of my life. I had a complete and utter breakdown, as did everyone really. I could tell my parents were trying to keep it under wraps so it wouldn't upset us. But we weren't really little kids. We were both double digits. We knew how dangerous this situation was. Dad turned off the radio to conserve petrol, and the man followed us for 55 miles before he peeled away onto another road. Our fuel meter was on the big red E. super empty for the last 10 miles. We were driving on fumes. I don't really believe in God, but if he does exist, that was definitely one of his miracles. Once we got there, we drove into a petrol station and refilled to a full tank before driving the rest of the way home. Sister and I slept in the car after that. I only woke up once we made it all the way home. Just grateful nothing worse had happened than that. After getting some sleep, my mom phoned the non-emergency line for the police and reported what had happened. They never got back to her after that, but apparently the woman she spoke to said they may wish to in the future, as he matches the description given for a suspect wanted in relations to murder charges. No idea if he's actually the guy or just a random psycho. As I said, they never got back to her. So what's the takeaway then? Other than the crazy man on the beach, let's not meet. Well, for me, it's that I love Parmesan. She's still with us now, old as the hills and twice as grisly as once. But my mom's friends like to joke. I don't know why she did what she did that day. I couldn't tell you what her thought process was. What I do know is that this poor puppy was born into an environment where they abused and neglected her, only to be rescued and taken to a shelter where her mother and siblings all found homes before her. Despite how badly people treated her, when I took her home, she forgave but never forgot. I think the saying is, I never trust a person who doesn't like a dog, but I always trust a dog who doesn't like a person. They have a very good understanding of human body language, and I think she must have understood how much danger we were in. A strange man listening in on my sister and I's conversation while we were taking photos at an abandoned gas station. My sister, 22 female, is a photographer, and I, 25 female, let her take photos of me on occasion. I had the bright idea that we should go to Salton Sea for pics. It takes about an hour and a half to 2 hours to go all the way around the Salton Sea. One of our first stops was an abandoned gas station. There aren't any houses around the gas station. It's a pretty desert spot. There's where the pumps used to be, the convenience store, and on the left, about 50 to 60 feet away, is a 2-story building. As we were walking around, we were getting a weird feeling. Something just didn't seem right, but we ignored those feelings. We ended up at the 2-story building. The second floor roof is caving in. There's barely any walls, and the stairs to get up to the second floor are on the outside of the building. We got on to taking pictures on the second story, but 10 minutes in, an argument formed between us. It was a weird argument too. It just came out of nowhere. It literally felt like an artificial argument, like I was a Sims character and was just directed to argue. My sister said, "No more pics." I said, "Fine." We go to the stairs and look down, and there's a car with the back of the car facing the stairs, and I mean like literally the trunk of the car was 5 feet away from the bottom of the stairs close. I noticed their driver's side window was rolled down, as well as the passenger behind the driver's seat window was down too. They could have easily heard us, considering the second floor was so caved in. I'd consider it to be a part of the outside. And there wasn't even a door at the top of the stairs, just a huge opening, and we weren't being quiet at all. He definitely heard us. What separated us and the car was a gate. When we were halfway down the stairs, the car sped off. I thought it could be security. This is a bit hard to explain, but from where the car was parked, you need to drive counterclockwise around the building and make 2 lefts, and then you can start driving in the direction of where my car is parked. We were in no rush to my car, and we arrived at my car. The car was pulling up. We were facing south. The car was facing north, 20 feet away from being able to do a U-turn to get next to me. So essentially the car would have had to pull around where the pumps used to be next to us. When I was finally able to get a good look in the car right before it had to do a U-turn, it was an old creepy looking man with a bunch of trash you could see through the windows. He was very obviously not a security guard. At this point, my sister was in the car and I was outside my car with the door pulled open. I threw myself in the car so fast, all while the car was starting the U-turn in the parking lot to get next to me, turning on my car the fastest I've ever turned it on, and sped away. I saw him in my mirror for a little bit, but it didn't last long. He didn't try following. I'm so thankful he didn't come to the stairs. There's only one way in and out of the second story, and if someone is on the stairs, there's no other exit. I think the argument must have been a guardian angel getting us out of there. Thank you guys for listening. Have a good night.